and how it was quashed by the Honorable Supreme Court, giving a big relief to the law school aspirant this year. Also, what is pertinent to note that yesterday we conducted an All India Open mock, which was given by a lot of kids across the country. Of course, the platform itself was enabling to see your rank, your analytics, which section you, how much time you gave to a particular question, what is the correct answer, what is the explanation for it. So the analytics was already available there on the platform. And why it was conducted? It was conducted so as to ensure that you have a comprehensive mock test before the CLAT 2020 schedule on 28th day of September. The once you when you took this mock, once you attempted it, there was two sections to it. One was view results, and the other was take this again. It is now enabled take this again. When you go to the view result section, there were three things which were there on your screen: result, analytics, leaderboard. Okay. Uh, then it was the section showed you the explanations. It showed you the report card, attempted time, accuracy, and your speed too, which is very very important when it comes down to the competitive examination. What happens next is how many wrong question you did, how many right question you did, skipped. These all analytics is available. Further on, it also tells you about per question how you attempted each and every individual question, how much time you took in attempting each questions, okay, and how much you skipped. Your comparison to the average person and the topper is there. Your comparison in terms of marks, attempts, time, speed is there on the LMS. The leadership tells you your rank, and the highest score which someone got was 123.75, which is a very very good score. So that being said, we have with us Brajbhan, who will be taking us through the analyst this particular mock analysis section. Brajbhan, over to you.
So the difficult, if I'll say the difficulty level of this mock was between easy to moderate. It was not that hard and it was not that easy also. So it was somewhere in between easy to moderate. And if I'll talk about the English section, the comprehension section, so the English section, the primary, basically the English section was so designed to as of the CLAT pattern, as of the CLAT sample papers which was released by the consortium. It was mainly focusing on the comprehension. It was mainly focusing on the questions from the comprehension, and some more questions, as of like the tone of the passage or a word from the passage, such as there was a question regarding what the phrase vexed problem means in the passage. So the difficulty level of English comprehension was, if I'll say, it was moderate, and the questions were easily inferenced, easily from the passage, from the comprehension itself. And there were few questions such as which, like if I'll say, which was based on author's reasoning or author's or a particular word from the passage. and and the length of the comprehensions were not that the comprehension were not too long or too short. The comprehensions were designed as to basic to as of if I'll say, to replicate the comprehensions which were used in the CLAT sample papers which were released by the consortium. And so if I'll say, in this section there were somewhat, what I'll say, there were around 30 questions in my opinion. And if you are scoring sort of, there were 30 questions, and if you are scoring 22 24 out of that, because the questions were not too hard, and if you are scoring 22, if I'll say 21 to 25 24, it is a good score in this it is a good score in this in this section. And it's a very good score in this section. And because this section was not too tough or too easy, it was simple inference based on the passage itself. So let's come to the section which is most, if I'll say, more important, because it will not take much time and it will also gain much more scores in the CLAT paper. So the section is GK. So if we will talk about the GK, the general knowledge section was equally balanced with current GK like what is happening in the current GK, and with the if I'll say with the inference from the static GK. So it was equally balanced. The current, basically whatever topics are going in the current scenario is well connected with the statics GK scenario. So these questions like files and the somewhat it was between moderate to hard. It was not easy, and it was not moderate also. It was between moderate to hard. It was so if I'll say if the hard percentage is 100%, then the percentage of this GK section was around somewhere between 75 or 70%. So this and the passage and the passage and the section has questions on every relevant topic which is presently happening. Like if I will say, and also static. If I will say there was a comprehension on emergency which was divided by Indira Gandhi in 1975, such as there are questions on legal GK, such as which article about the which provides for national emergency. Then there was static GK question, when was the emergency announced by Indira Gandhi government. Then another strategy question was there, that proclamation of energy emergency was signed by which president. Then there was the question regarding the current, basically current, which draconian law during the time of emergency static only was struck down by 9 high courts for being ultra vires the constitution. And so there was, so the point was that it is somewhat connected to the present scenario regarding the UAPA which is happening right now with this case, UAPA case against basically what is his name, Umar Khalid. So it was basically sort of related to that, and but there was static GK question more in that comprehension. And now if we will come to the immigration from US, so it was more current base. It was more current comprehension, and the questions in this comprehension were basically all current questions and somewhat static also. 1 or 2 questions were static from static GK. So, and then there was the government about the new organization in the space field. So this was also current and with 1-2 static GK questions. Then there was the comprehension regarding the EIA environmental impact assessment, in which it was also some basically 50-50 static and current in this questions regarding this comprehension. And there was COVID-19 related questions, so regarding Patanjali and all. So कुल मिला के ये जो सेक्शन था इसमें स्टैटिक वाज आल्सो देयर, स्टैटिक फाइल से 40% एंड करंट फाइल से 60%, दोनों का प्रॉपर बैलेंस था. थोड़ा लेवल इसका थोड़ा सा इंग्लिश फाइल से थोड़ा ज्यादा हार्ड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ हार्ड था, बट क्वेश्चंस वर, इफ आई विल से, questions were not that too hard also. If you know about emergency, then you have to know about the law which was quashed. If you are basically following the Umar Khalid case, then obviously you know about UAPA. So these questions were like, and then if you are following EIA, then you also know that this is replacing EIA 2006. And if you are following visa H1B visa in US, then you also know about the, basically if you are following the current happenings in legal sector in India, legal domain in India, then you know all the answers of these questions, because the questions were drafted, made like that. So basically, if I will say, it contained, in my opinion, 35 something questions, and in this 27, between 25 to 28 was a good score. 25 to 28 was a good score. Score can be but the point was there were some questions which were which were related to static and maybe somewhat hard, because it was not directly connected to the current GK, current legal happening. So it can be, that's why the score is in this is between, like if I say 24 to 28 was a good score. Then if we will basically talk about the what I'll say, the legal reasoning sector, the legal reasoning domain, which everyone has to score good marks because you are studying for CLAT and everyone has to know about basically that how to solve this legal reasoning thing, which and the pattern is completely changed from past year papers and all. The new pattern is there, and the CLAT is coming on in the next week itself. So you have to know about the basics, how to solve the question regarding legal comprehension. So legal comprehension was not, it was, if I'll say, it was not very easy, but it was somewhat easy because the questions were directly, if I'll say directly, if you are reading the comprehension, you can solve the questions. There were not no extra knowledge required, somewhat, sort of. Like if we will talk about, there was a passage regarding cruelty to animal act. There were offenses defined, type 1, type 2, type 3 offense, and there were questions regarding that. The questions were directly, if say inference, if you are reading this comprehension like type 1, type 2, type 3 offense, you can easily solve the question. Then there were questions regarding what I'll say, basically article 20 in ex post facto law. Then there was self incrimination, double jeopardy is there. So I know that every one of us has basically solve these questions, whether it was, if anyone is has dropped down and then or anyone who's preparing for CLAT and also solves the principal facts questions for ILAT and all. We all know that these types of questions are very common in CLAT, like ex post facto law and all that. Junaid, whatever, like CLAT consortium also released some sort of a question sort of that let's suppose that Junaid was driving a vehicle and police arrested him, and then he said that he can't say anything because that will be self-incriminating. So these questions, we all know that these questions are somewhat relevant and somewhat common in CLAT and all law entrance examinations, if I'll say. So these questions were also there. It was clearly inference from the, if you will read the provisions, and if you don't read also the provisions, and if you know basically, because of each of us know what is article 20 and what article 20 talks about. So but yeah, you have to give us, because sometimes they can twist, but yeah, these are editorials, so they will not twist the comprehensions, but still you have to read a comprehension. So yeah, if you are reading the comprehension in a one reading and then you are solving the questions, it was very easy. This comprehension was easy, if in sort of. Then there was basic structure, and questions were sort of simple in that question. The comprehension was very short, so it was around 200 250 200 words, so you can read the comprehension in one go and then you can solve the questions. It was also on the easy side. And there were questions regarding the, if I'll say, defamation, because defamation is too relevant, because defamation is one thing which is relevant, in which it was so defamation is too relevant in every law entrance examination. So the point is that this section, this legal section, if I'll say, this legal section was sort of based on some legal, the new legal happening, and the some which is basically like defamation and article 20 also. So it was like that, and the questions totally were basically 36 questions were there, and if you are scoring 26 to 30 marks in this section, you can score more than that, but if you are scoring, then it is a good score, if I'll say. This is a good score. And there were regarding our warranty and unfit engineer questions also in this section, with fill use, when fill use, with the basically when fill use died because of the bouncer by Sean Abbott, and so that comprehension was used for the volunteer unfit engineer. And then there was a case regarding the permanent commission for women in army, comprehension regarding that. So if you are scoring 27 to 30 marks in this section, it is a very good score. And then there was basically reasoning section. If I so this section was somewhat moderate, like the level was mid. And so yeah, first there are questions regarding statement questions. Statement 1 and statement 2 questions were there. Then there were comprehension questions also. So basically in this section, verbal reasoning, analytical, every part of reasoning was covered analytical, whether it is analytical reasoning or verbal reasoning. So there were statement question, there was syllogism question, there was analytical reasoning questions. So in this section, if you are scoring like somewhat, in my opinion, it has some 30 35, between 30 35 questions. If you are scoring 25 20 20, if there are 30 questions, if you are scoring 25 to 30, it is good. So 25 to basically, and 25 to 27 6, because it was not that tough, but it was a sort of, you can score marks easily. But still, if 35 questions are there, and if you are scoring uh, if you are and if you are scoring somewhat between 20 27 26 to 30, then it's good for that. And then there was quantitative aptitude section. Aptitude section was uh, somewhat on level same as GK and or current affairs. The level was moderate, a bit more than moderate, but it was basically all questions were regarding, there was percentage questions, there was ratio questions, and there was basically, if I'll say, there was average questions. So these three topics were there, and it was easily solved by the help of the data which was given. So this was the case in that. So on an average, the total score, if I'll say in this mock, regarding, because every topic was covered, so the total score, if I'll say in this mock, is that, like uh, 30 questions in their English is there. So if you are scoring 30 questions in English is there, and if you are scoring 22 23 to 25 26, then it is good. So basically, let's suppose 25 is there. Then there is GK, in which if you are scoring 35 basically questions, let's suppose there. And then if there is, if you are scoring 22 to, same 22 to 27, then let's suppose 25 or 26 in this section. So there is 50. Then, and then there is legal reasoning 35, and if you are scoring 28 in that, so 78 and 78. Then there is maths. So if you are scoring in maths, there are questions like there are questions. So if you are if you are scoring around 12 to 15, 12 15 in my opinion. So 78 10 88 85 93 is
93.
there. And then there is logical reasoning, and if you are scoring 25 27 in that, so maybe the score which like 120 sort of, if I'll say 93 and 20 and 120 sort of a score is fine in this mock. Because and yeah, 125 was basically, yeah, so it was a good score, because this mock was not that easy and not that hard. It was somewhat on moderate level. GK and math were a lot difficult than the legal reasoning section, but logical reasoning, English was very easy. English and legal reasoning was easy, and then logical reasoning was a bit moderate, and then maths and legal reasoning was maths and legal reasoning was maths and maths and logical reasoning was basically maths. What I'm saying, maths and GK was a bit on the side of moderate to hard. So this was the case.
Okay, Bridgman, that was such an amazing analysis of the mock. Topic-wise, much needed. Basically, you also mentioned the topics along with the sections, which was very much needed from a bird eye perspective. And yes, I have always been telling across that 120 is a very very safe score. This year, CLAT, if you crack 120 plus, it's like anything. But again, what Brijvan came down to the calculation 118. So I've repeatedly said that if you are preparing for CLAT 2020, at least you should have for a safer side, at least go for 110. Your idea should be to crack 120 plus, but if there is some chances also of you doing some errors and not filling the right option because of the pressure of the exam, go for this at least 110 plus. It's a very very safe score. It will land you into the National Law University for sure, whatever they make the paper. Believe me, whatever they make the paper, it is a safe score. And don't believe that somebody is going there and gonna get like 146 147. Might happen, nobody knows. This is a competitive exam, but that is not a very that is not even if it happens, then only one or two kids will be able to crack 140 145 plus, because one needs to at least due to that particular timing and the five sections being there in the exam, and these five sections, like you can't be very much there are few sections you can say that isse ye aayega. For that matter, you can actually guess what all the topics will come down to the general knowledge part. But when it comes down to the one passage that will be of static GK, there can be very less chances, but most of the time we say that it will come down from modern Indian history. The reason being that the modern Indian history is known by everyone, whatever your subject is, which you took in class 11th and 12th. So go through that segment. And also legal, you can actually guess those topics, like Brijman was telling you about UAPA, then we at times were talking about women's right and etc etc. So legal we know, GK we know, but when it comes down English is if you have solved few passages in the last months, and you are from English medium school or even a Hindi medium school, but have practiced well, and you don't only believe in rattafying Ren and Martin, you can actually crack this paper. ठीक है, 10th के एग्जाम में भी आती है. ठीक है, so reading comprehension, we all are like, in India it's like a part and parcel of our schooling. So the main these two sections, which is logical reasoning and quantitative aptitudes, data interpretation, there in that segment comes into the picture where one can say that it stops someone from getting the closer picture of 145 plus. So therefore, always said the safe score is 120 plus, but a good score will be 110. And ideally, you should attempt in that manner first and foremost. And now this is a trick of trade. Due to the paper being on 28, पेपर करते समय, क्वेश्चन करते समय, ध्यान रखो first to crack this benchmark. Once you crack this one benchmark of 110 plus, then relax and then think about those passages which you are not very sure of. For me, if I have to attempt this year's paper, I would have obviously gone with GK, because either I know or I don't know. Okay, that is a segment very well. Post which I know if I'm good with maths, then I will only go into the math segment. Otherwise, I will go at very last.
Point is that, like, the previous pattern of maths, like when I was preparing, or when even sir was preparing, the maths was a bit difficult, like then this quantitative aptitude section, if I'll say, because then there was different topics, then there was upstream, low stream, these questions. So these were the, and this data interpretation, if I this data interpretation questions are much easy, if I'll say, if you have practiced a bit data interpretation, because there are only three topics which they are covering in data interpretation: average, percentage, ratio. There is nothing else than that. So if you have a bit grasp over these topics, then those questions, I in my opinion, will score, will fetch you a good marks. So yeah.
And of course, you can always practice those topics. Percentage is very very easy. Understand this. Percentage, average, ratio, and proportion. You just need to practice for like sit down for 5 hours, 6 hours. We have seen in our sessions when Vyom came together, and I know him personally. When he was giving the CLAT last year, till January, his score was 0.25 or something like that in maths. We used to sit till February, and his score was still the same. When CLAT came, he scored close to 10. So you can see with practice you can improve upon this particular thing. But now the CLAT is like 7 days back, 7 days ahead. Don't do this stupidity. If you have practiced these topics, then only revise it or learn those concepts. Try to revise those concepts. Otherwise, like, feel free. Focus on all the four other subjects. And still, you must have your own individual strategy. Don't think about कि सामने वाला ऐसे कर रहा है, मैं भी वैसे करूँगा. This is pure. It's something which is quite unique to every competitive exam aspirant. Like the way Mayank Agarwal plays, or KL Rahul can't play. So same applies to the competitive examination. You have to have your own strategy down there. You have to identify which section you want to approach first. But basically, all it has been a norm, and I did the same, going with GK, and I did GK because my GK was strong. I had a very strong edge when it came down to the general knowledge section, and that was the only reason I was preparing for law entrance examination. But that being said, in GK you are either sure you got it right or you don't know. Post which go to English, like you just keep it in your head that you have always learned English. You have always prepared for this particular thing, English wala section. And even somebody who's applying for any entrance examination will have to go through this particular section. So once you have this confidence in your brain, English to कर लेंगे because ये तो स्कूल में भी करते थे, then you will be able to do it. ठीक है. अब लॉजिकल में क्या है कि बिकॉज ऑफ द नेचर ऑफ क्वेश्चन सब बेसिकली इट्स अबाउट अगेन इंग्लिश का ही कुछ एस्पेक्ट इन्वॉल्व है, बट इट वाज मोर ऑफ अ डिडक्टिव इन नेचर, सो देयर इन यू नीड टू स्पेंड सम टाइम. ठीक है. सो सेव दोस क्रूशियल टाइम फॉर लॉजिकल. ठीक है. सो ऐसे बैलेंस करके पेपर आप कर सकते हो. एंड इस मॉक में द ऑल इंडिया ओपन मॉक अ वेरी गुड स्कोर इज 118 प्लस. ठीक है. दैट इज फ्रॉम आवर साइड. Brijwan, if you want to add something, otherwise it's done.
No, sir, it is fine.
Okay, so all the best everyone, and tomorrow at 4 p.m. I will be live with you with doing a revision on legal current affairs, June to December 2019. Till then, take care.